Hi, I'm Dr. Celine Gelgich.
And I'm Dr. Tori Miller.
Welcome to Breaking the Rules.
On Breaking the Rules, we talk about all things OCD.
Obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, impacts up to 1 to 2% of the population. We are here to provide not just education, but to inspire clinicians, families, and people who are impacted by OCD to be able to access the treatment they need in order to get better.
Catch us every fortnight, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello.
Hello.
Today we have a very special guest,
Very special.
which will be fun.
Yeah.
We have the lovely Catherine McGrath, who is one of our team members actually, and she's coming back onto the show to talk to us about, or to talk with us actually.
Yeah.
We're going to have like a little group chat about our biggest learnings as clinicians.
Yeah.
Things, hard stuff that we've learned as clinicians. So we thought this would be a really interesting topic, but also demonstrating sitting in awkwardness and admitting our stuff ups along the way, because we are human.
Yeah.
And they happen in therapy. Ruptures happen and stuff happens in therapy. And we thought we'd share them with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Catherine.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah.
Lovely to be here.
Look, it's tough. And I think one of the reasons why I really like the idea of this topic is because I suppose through, if we think about OCD and ERP in particular, right? I think that we have a lot of members, myself, once upon a time I hadn't learned ERP and, you have to be very courageous to step into it. And inevitably when you're beginning a learning journey, you don't know everything and you do a good enough job, but perhaps not a great job.
Cringe moments, early career.
Yeah. But I think I really like the idea of the three of us sharing our experiences with learning ERP and stepping into this space, because we have a lot of people who are learning ERP still, who are meeting with someone with OCD for the first time, for students, for registrars. I think it's really important to know that you don't have to know everything, and therapy can still be good enough even when things don't go exactly according to plan, or even if there's a missed opportunity and you realize later, oh my gosh, I was 100% indulging OCD in that session. It's just dawned on me. And that's okay. That we're, therapy can still be really effective even if we're not perfect clinicians.
Yes.
And also I think my hope, I suspect we all have this hope, is that by sharing these, we might even help others avoid
these mistakes.
Yes.
Or maybe normalize it too.
Yeah.
Yes, and normalize it too. Yes.
Because we sit there at lunch often and we'll go, oh my goodness, this just happened. And then you go, oh, okay, this happened to other people too, or they've had other experiences. It's quite comforting actually, as well. Because Tori and I were talking this week, something came up and I was like, oh, this is one of those lessons that I've learned. So it happens all the time.
True.
And I think
so true.
I think for the young staff too, then they look at experienced clinicians and think, oh, you just know how to do it and you must say the right thing all the time, which I'd like to pretend was true. But it's not.
That's true.
Yeah.
Do you want to kick us off, Catherine?
Well, I was thinking probably one that came to mind actually this week, talking with Tori, and I said, I just was feeling a bit stuck with a client and thinking, what am I doing? And I'd remembered I'd been stuck a previous time with this very same client. And I thought, what's the difference between now and then? And this is a couple of years have gone past. And I realized in that when I was stuck the first time, I thought it was all me. And I thought it was because I didn't know enough, or maybe I'd done ERP wrong. And all the way I'd suggested the exposure tasks was wrong, or I hadn't delivered it correctly, when actually now I can look at it and I thought, actually, no, it's about what the client was bringing in the room as well. And because we're back at a very similar space. And now I'm like, no, what we did then, and it was what we needed to do. And it was really successful for them. But, the ebbs and flows of working with OCD, and we're back here again. And we ended up having the same conversation where I thought, oh, am I suggesting, the client sort of questioning, are you sure this is right? Are you sure this is the only solution for me. And I said, well, there are options, but this is, what I think we need to do. And rather than me immediately thinking it was something that I was doing, I thought, oh, actually, this is one of those learning moments where I thought, no, this is about the difficulty of this work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how hard doing ERP is, when you were saying earlier, like that leap as a clinician to be courageous and do it, but then the leap we're asking our clients to do as well is so huge sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely been in that place before where I have thought that the reason things weren't progressing was because I wasn't I wasn't somehow good enough, or I wasn't applying the principles in a sophisticated enough way, or I wasn't explaining it properly.
Or you were
and-
missing the magic technique or
yeah,
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm waiting for
Yeah.
the magic. Yeah, that's
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like in those moments, then I got all up in my head and forgot to sort of continue exploring things with the client. And instead I doubled down on resources and worksheets and
Yes.
psychoeducation and,
Yep.
as opposed to just being curious with the client, tell me more.
What's going on here?
Yeah, tell
Let's
me
explore
more.
this a bit more.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
probably missed some opportunities.
Yeah, totally.
And rather
Yeah.
than trying to convince them, also like with those worksheets and thinking,
Yes.
see,
Yeah.
this is why, and I'll
Yeah.
show you an excerpt from one of these books, and it's not just me that thinks this.
Here's a whole chapter on motivation.
I do know what I'm talking about. But it's actually, you missed the point of
Yeah.
what's going on in the room. It's not
Yeah.
actually about that at all.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of missing the point, I've told you that, guys, this story before, and I may have mentioned it on the podcast in a previous episode, but I remember very early in my career just totally misreading how distressed a client was when I was talking about psychoeducation in the very early sessions of therapy. And the client was masking, like there was like, when someone starts to feel really sad or upset, either their posture might change even just a little bit, or nothing might change, but you might see like tiny bits of red popping up into their eyes because you can see the emotion creeping in, right?
Yeah.
None of that was happening. It was just super composed, but there would have been something that I totally missed for sure. But I was, working through psycho-ed, and like we're talking about it and talking about what ERP is like and what it is and all that sort of stuff. And I thought the session went great. So there I am typing my notes afterwards and all that sort of stuff. And after 5 minutes, admin walked in and was like, "What did you do to that client?" And I was like, I just froze. And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, they cancelled all the rest of their appointments." And I was like, "Oh, fuck. What do you mean? Oh, shit." And I was racking my brain. Fuck, what did I say? What did I do? And then I was like, I reckon I scared the shit out of her about talking about what ERP is. And I didn't ask her at all in session. I didn't say, how does that sound? How's this feeling? Does this feel scary? Like, what's going on for you? How does it feel hearing me talk about this and what the expectations are? And do you have any questions? Like, I would have asked, do you have any questions? Because that's something I typically ask. But all the other stuff,
Yeah.
I know I didn't ask. And so
But questions isn't about the emotional experience of it, is it?
yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I
Just
didn't
like,
check
was
in
I
with
clear?
the emotional experience. Yeah, exactly.
Was I clear that you're going to
Yeah.
feel terrible?
I wasn't checking in with her about what her emotions were like.
Yeah.
I was very much just keeping it intellectual,
Yeah.
which for me as an early career psychologist, I think I hid in that safety, and I think a lot
Yeah.
of us do, of the intellectual part of therapy. And we might skim around the emotions, but for us it's still learning how to do that for ourselves.
Yeah.
And how to regulate that in the room to help co-regulate our clients. And so that was a huge miss to me, and I've obviously reached out to this client and all that sort of stuff, but heard nothing back. Fair enough. But
So you weren't able
since
to
then,
repair?
no, I couldn't repair, which is, hard. And sometimes, a lot of the time, we don't get the chance to repair.
Yeah, it's true.
I love the chance to be able to repair with clients. I think that's really important and helpful for them too, because it's a learning experience and a teaching moment. But I think too, since then I've overcompensated, and to this day I'm constantly checking in about
Clients are
where
like,
they're
okay,
at
I've answered that
emotionally.
question, Celine.
Yes. Stop asking me for reassurance,
Stop.
Celine.
Yeah, that's right. I've reassured you once. You only get one. You only get reassurance once.
We all need it
Are you sure you're
sometimes.
okay?
Okay.
Are you sure this is okay? Oh
Yeah,
my
but I think you're
goodness.
right. Like, I think we can probably all relate to that. The notion of like, we're doing therapy to our clients, not with our
Yes.
clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that
when we
idea
first
of
start.
yeah, what the therapy is. I think particularly with OCD work, if it's like, right, this is what I've got to do, and I've got to get to the ERP. Particularly, again, people early, maybe not early career, but newer to working
Newer
with
to the area,
OCD.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like, I've got to go and we've got to do some exposure tasks, and I haven't done them yet. And I know I remember sort of getting caught up in that, thinking, oh, I've done this many sessions, and they haven't got through all these items on their list. They haven't we haven't done exposure tasks to this. And I think that sort of link, that was when you were talking about your client, it also made me think of probably one of those other learnings of this work is that actually holding the space is the work a lot of the
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
Can you define what holding the space means for
Yes.
people who might not be
Yeah.
familiar with that term?
Yeah, so, sitting with the silence, sitting with the pain, sitting with the discomfort, and being able to tolerate feeling uncomfortable, not needing to do the fixing as well. I think so. We get caught a lot early days. Here's some worksheets. Here's how we're going to do it. We need to try and fix this. And I
Or
certainly
we get caught
find
up in
when-
the anxiety, right? To like
Yeah.
want to fix it, or we might shift gears too quickly and
Mhm.
too much when the anxiety feels really intense because we feel like we have to make it go away or fix it,
Mm.
right? Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so also showing them that we can tolerate whatever distress, pain, discomfort they're feeling, that we can hold a space for that. I think there's a modeling to that too, but also a lesson for me in the importance of that space that we create for clients that probably nowhere else in their world they have.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful and unique space, isn't it, that therapy is? I think one of the things that I get caught up with, it's not necessarily ERP and OCD treatment specific, but get caught up in wondering whether I'm being useful. And I don't mean being accountable and making sure that what I'm providing is evidence-based treatment, because that is part and parcel of being a psychologist. We're scientist practitioners. We are taught to make sure that everything that we're doing is evidence-based. I'm talking about, just minimizing, I think, the experience of being in the therapy room and around some of those, process-oriented aspects of work where you might not be getting to the action-oriented aspects, like doing an exposure exercise. You've actually spent a lot of time talking, empathizing. And it's just a great reminder, Catherine, what you said about how special and unique that space is, that in most interactions in life, people are jumping in and sharing their own personal experiences, or they're problem solving for you, or they might even be dismissive. It's just not the same. It's very special, isn't it? And I think we can, as clinicians, we can spoil that a bit, can't we? If we
Yeah.
get too in our head about, certainly that's been a vulnerability of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Oh, yeah, just in terms of, I think, presuming that clients already know what I'm talking about. So not perhaps teaching deep breathing, because I presume everyone knows how to deep breathe, or presuming that someone would think that doing a meditation together in session would seem silly because, everyone does meditation everywhere, and, you do it in school and it's encouraged in the workplace and every app has it, and so presuming that it wouldn't be interesting to the client or of value. Or even like even some more specific mindfulness-based techniques like grounding, or the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise. Sort of glossing over those things, presuming that I don't need to teach them, or that people wouldn't be interested or engaged in learning or practicing together, because I just think, it's not really particularly interesting or special,
Yes.
Do you think like you're filtering out in those moments, Tori? Like we self-filter sometimes out things that we think, oh no, this client probably won't, they'll probably roll their eyes when I mention meditation.
Yep, and I think sometimes you're right. There's probably a sort of a transference component there where I'm making presumptions about what someone would and wouldn't want to engage with depending on how they're presenting in the room and perhaps their own anxieties, their own worries about not being a good enough client, not being a good enough patient. You know, I think I'm probably responding a bit to that sometimes.
Or they might carry hostility about, they're like, I've done ERP before.
Yep.
What's going to be different this
Yeah.
time?
How could I make a difference? They've already had 3 practitioners. They've had OCD for 30 years. What have I got that
what am I going to bring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely something that I've not,
Yeah.
you know, that it's a trap I can definitely fall into.
Yeah. That is a hard lesson in terms of recognizing that, sitting in that, and trying to be able to be mindful of not making those assumptions. I like even just the assumption of they've been through ERP before, I'll skip psycho ed.
Yeah.
When we forget sometimes that people come in with anxiety. So they're not always taking in what we're telling them.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll hear it differently. Or the perfect example of this, I think, is when you've been talking about something with your client for a couple of months and then they come in like, so I watched this thing on YouTube and they talked about blah, blah, blah. And in your head, you're like, we've been fucking talking about this for 3 fucking months. And it registers to you on YouTube.
I've had that, but it was a TED Talk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, same deal.
I had someone do the group, our OCD group, and they said, I went to group and they taught us this amazing thing. And I was like, oh, wow, I should learn what this is in my own clinic. No.
Yeah.
But it was
But that's
the
just the
environment,
process.
the
I mean,
time,
that's just,
I don't know.
It's just how humans work, right? Sometimes we have to hear it a different way at a different time.
Or it hits differently.
Yeah, or in a state of readiness, or just explained in a slightly different way. You know, there's all sorts of factors there.
Yeah, but I've been caught up in that too, in making those assumptions.
Yeah.
And then going, no, I have to hold back.
Yeah.
Go through that process.
Yeah.
And check in, you know.
The concept of readiness too, I think.
Yes.
When you is such an important lesson along the way as well. Like, we might think these are all the things we want to do and I know how I need to work on this, but the readiness of the client is something that we have to also pace ourselves around. We have to meet them where they're at. And if they didn't hear when you did the beautiful lot of psychoeducation, but when they sat in their room and listened to a TED Talk, that was part of it, wasn't it? That they just weren't ready in that moment.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think another lesson I learned the hard way, or a hard lesson that I learned, was I didn't include parents enough.
Oh, yeah.
In the early stages.
Yeah.
And even though when I was really diving into OCD treatment using ERP, so this is going back a while now, I'd had plenty of experience working with parents. So it wasn't a case of discomfort working with, you know, doing systems work, working with families, because I'd done plenty of it. So I'm talking about, 10 years worth.
Yeah.
I think there were a couple of things that held me back. One was not really just a learning journey, understanding accommodations.
Yes.
So I think that was something I didn't do enough of in the beginning, only because I just hadn't learned it yet.
Yeah.
I just had been focused, my learning was just focused around individual treatment for OCD and about supporting parents, sort of in terms of relationships and hardships. But parents
were teaching them to be pseudo-therapists almost at home.
Yes, so teaching parents to support their kids with their with their own personal ERP.
Yeah.
And parents were really asking me what else can I do? Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And I think it was just partly that I didn't know.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that sometimes I did was, once I did start to learn about accommodations and start to do the work in that way, was probably too quick to believe parents when they said that they don't engage in accommodations.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily, I think I realize now that a lot of time OCD is so insidious that families just didn't realize that they were engaging in accommodations.
Yeah, they wouldn't have known because it's so subtle, right?
Yeah.
Like, you think it's just a quick reassurance or whatever it is, or you engage it, or you end up following through with whatever the request is from your child, just to help relieve the anxiety, relieve the pain, but also to get the family going.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to keep the peace.
Yeah, because you've got to get the kids to school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Has that ever happened to you, Catherine?
I think, and sometimes it's a real tipping point, isn't it? Like, I always remember Ellie Leibovitz talks about, everyone accommodates. Good parents accommodate. So we do that. So where's that point where it tips over? It's really hard for parents to then be cognizant of that point where it switches from being something that parents do every day to something that is then like dysfunctional now, that is impairing the child because actually they're doing it out of a place of love, compassion, wanting to help the child or get the family out the door because we're waiting for, these rituals to be done or just reassuring them because they're fearful or they're scared. What's innately within a parent is to want to comfort and remove that fear.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I remember, Catherine, when we did the workshop with Ellie, we both went, fuck, we've been working with parents wrong for like 15 years. Do you remember that feeling?
I remember that
We're like,
moment
"Oh
because
my
I think we
God."
text each other in this thing going, oh my goodness, what have we been doing?
And he did say that. He was like, you guys will, this is what was done.
Yeah.
What was done was what you've just described.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're only really just fully understanding accommodations now. So
Yeah.
that was a very hard lesson,
Which
but
is
also
where,
a
like,
relieving one.
The thing is, where like that what we were doing wrong was bringing in the parent for like the last 10-minute sessions to provide handover and like, Johnny's gonna,
do this for homework.
Yeah, do this for homework.
Yeah.
And has to touch the bench before it's been wiped down. And
Yes.
here's how you can support him with this.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas now we know.
Yeah.
Actually, the role for parents is actually quite different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even be like, these are some things you can say if he asks you for reassurance. This is what it is. Like, just some real symptom management stuff as opposed to removing accommodations. Yeah.
And that how we educate parents of their role in the process, and maybe not just parents even, I mean partners,
caregivers,
spouses,
yeah,
lives
totally.
with someone that has OCD. It's not just about the individual getting therapy. So then it's like, actually there's two parts to this, because if we work on all these things that might be certain rituals that a client might be going through, but we're missing this whole piece of accommodation that's happening, then you're not doing the really critical parts of the work either. But we thought that we were. So
very much so.
It can get missed because it's also for a lot of our, and particularly children, they don't probably realise either. And also they're not motivated to want to call that out.
No.
Why would they want that removed? Yes, I'll feel uncomfortable, please.
In the teen group, whenever we get to the point where it's like, now it's time for us to tell your parents how to reduce accommodations, they're like, no, don't do it.
Don't do it. Like, do you have to send that video?
Don't take it away.
Do you have to tell them? Yes. Oh, man. Yeah, it's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just some of these hard lessons are ones that are, I think, worth experiencing.
Yeah.
Because it helps us be reflective. It helps us grow. It helps us improve the way that we work. We're talking about them in the hope that others don't repeat them, but also to normalize them as well. And like we said earlier, to be able to make sure that we stay reflective.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I think that's a dangerous path in terms of if we lose the ability to self-reflect and not take things to supervision or be worried about, oh, I think I stuffed that up. I don't want to tell my supervisor in case they get angry at me or annoyed at me or report me or do whatever else it is. Like, hopefully this conversation inspires people to be comfortable to talk about the hard things.
And think about what our job, like I often have to reflect, what's my job here? What's my role here? And it isn't to be perfect. And I don't have to have all the answers. That was a shocking one to have to learn and sit with. Very difficult. But to actually do that, the curiosity ongoing alongside your clients and work with them on that. Like, I'm wondering why. I'm curious why that might be happening, rather than me having to respond with, it's happening because of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we summarize? Or before we do that, is there anything else that you guys want to share before we wrap up?
I mean, how long you got?
Oh, I know. We could be here all day.
I mean, very quickly, and I won't go, but I think just all of this talked around, that idea of the compassion we need to actually have for ourselves and the boundaries and limits we set for ourselves. And I just think each one of the things we've talked about probably links to that.
Yeah.
Like, because your client walked out and didn't come back, we've all had that. And that doesn't equal, I can no longer be a therapist and I don't know how to do this. So we need to look at how we look after ourselves in that process, which is using our supervision and
Yeah.
reflective spaces and all those things. So I feel like that part, we could go on about how we need to look after ourselves as clinicians and stuff for a long time, and it's really important. But I think each one of the things we've talked about today is probably encompassed in that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're
Yeah,
right.
That's
I
a
think
really
you're
nice
right.
point to make.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Do you want to do a summary?
Keep going,
Yes.
I think is a summary.
Yeah. Be kind to yourself.
Be kind to
Just
yourself.
keep swimming.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Yeah. I think the summary is the learning curve is hard.
Yeah.
The learning curve is not without mistakes. I think start from a place of knowledge, get the foundations, and then get going and allow yourself to be vulnerable in supervision. Reflect
and hopefully you have a supervisor who allows that.
Yes, that's right.
That's important too.
Reflect on your experiences, think about them, watch out for defensiveness where we're client blaming.
Yeah.
But also personalizing and blaming ourselves for everything too.
Yes.
Talk it out with someone else.
Bringing in that self-compassion.
And just find the learning moments and continue growing.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you.
Thanks for chatting, Catherine.
Thanks for joining us, Catherine.
Thanks for having me back. Lovely to see you both.
Yeah.
You too, hun.
Thanks everyone for watching and listening. We'll catch you guys in our next episode.